Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Just be here now in the flow, connected with life. Here now is the only point in time and space where we are touching reality. We can use the senses, the sense perceptions, to bring the attention back to that timelessness of the now. When you hear, usually we are totally in the mind interpreting everything that we are hearing. It's this, it's that. But then we can just focus on hearing, here, now. You hear sounds. Right now, you're hearing me talking. But then, when we bring the attention simply to the fact that we are hearing, you're right here. You're right in the flow. And just relax. We can use all the senses. They are now, the sense perceptions. They are now. They are not the moment before, a moment after. They are touching that timelessness. They are touching the flow of life. We can do them, experience them consciously. That doesn't mean we have to always focus on all the senses and hope that we can catch everything on all the levels that is happening, but we can focus on one as a means to bring the attention back to the source. There was a Zen master, he was teaching his disciples just to ask themselves, what hears? That was all their meditation. What hears? It's, in a way, the question, who am I? Just slightly differently phrased. What hears? You can just hear. And then not indulge into interpreting everything. This is this is that. Ah, that must be over there. Just focus on the fact that there is hearing. Hearing is alive. Now, focus on it and relax. Then suddenly the experience of hearing starts to totally change its flavor. Instead of just being bombarded by sounds which we might like or sounds which we might not like. Disgusted sound, disgusting sound. We can use those sounds to just flow along with the hearing right to the source, to that which makes the experience possible. It's nice to be in an environment where there are nice sounds, But we can do that also with ugly sounds. When I was in my cave, I was in the midst of a growing ashram. There's often a lot of construction work going on, and sometimes it was very loud there. And I've learned to make use of the sounds, especially offensive sounds had then become very powerful, because usually when there is an offensive sound, then there is immediately a reaction. No, no, not nice. Shouldn't be like this. And then learning to forego that reaction and accepting, and then just flow with the sound has been very strong, has become very strong. A means to simply flow back to the source with the attention. That's how we can make use of the senses. Often in spiritual circles, then it's very much, oh, don't have anything to do with the senses. They are the ones that betraying you, that luring your attention away. And of course, if we are not alert, that's what they are doing. This tastes so nice. Oh, this smells so nice. This touch is so nice. Or not nice. Weg. But if we learn to just accept the perception as a living fact, and then not indulge in liking them or not liking them, or even if the spontaneous reaction comes of liking or not liking that perception, we can also observe that along with the sense perception. Then just be aware that this perceiving is going on, and along with the sound, along with the smell, along with the taste, along with the touch, we can just flow back to the source. Bring the attention back home to that which makes the experience possible. Then we need not fight with the senses. Okay? As long as there is a body, there are these five senses. And they are continuously feeding information into the brain. And there somehow all this is being constructed into our experience, in our worldview, in our world experience. Then we get lost in the detail of what we have constructed. All these informations, they come in and they are somehow fused together, and then we get lost in the details of what we have fused there. But we can just focus also on simply the fact of perceiving. And then with that flow right back to the source, to that which is prior to that sense of presence. It is there, whether we are perceiving or not, whether we are active or not, whether we are thinking or not. It's always there, that sense of presence. We can use the senses to just flow back all the way to that. It's always available, all the time. It's not that we have to somehow get those tools and ready, and then we can start. Here now, always available. Very powerful tools to catch the attention and bring it right back home to being, to that being that is timeless, prior to the sense perceptions, prior to the thoughts, prior to emotions, prior to anything. First, there is that sense of presence. Out of that, the whole time-space experience emerges. There is something there. There is obviously energetically something on this level already there. But our perception, how we are experiencing the world, how we are experiencing ourselves, how we are experiencing everything that is happening is very much an interpretation that we are creating in our brain. And then we have been trained to create in a certain way by all the people around when we grew up to push always in a certain direction, and we have joined. That's why we have so much a similar view of the world, a similar attitude towards the world, a similar world interpretation, a world view. But we can forego that at times. In order to act practically on this level, we can very well let it in place, knowing it's a momentary appearance. It's a construction that we have learned to hold on to and reconstruct and reconstruct and reconstruct that it looks so solid and real, but we can forgo it, bypass it, and just flow with the sense perception right to that which makes the experience possible. There are sounds, there is hearing, and we can flow with that experience back to the source. It's there, available for everybody, all the time. Some people may be handicapped and miss a sense. There are still senses that are functioning. Otherwise, living is not possible. It's always there, available. We can use it wherever we are, in the midst of walking through a crowd, in the train, in the plane, in the car, on the motorbike, at home, in front of the TV, when we are at work, when we are alone, in a nice, beautiful place, it can be used all the time. We are never cut off from that current of life, never for a moment. And the sense perceptions, they are always momentarily in touch. It's happening here, it's happening now. It's in touch with life. We can use them to dive into that, to bring the attention back home and let go and relax and dive into that. If we do that, we are actually doing practice all the time, meditating all the time, whether we are active or whether we are sitting quietly with the eyes closed. The habit is so strong to do the opposite that it needs a reminder. We have to remind ourselves, okay, just let me not fly away with the sense perceptions in our dream worlds, but just use that immediate, direct experience to bring the attention back home. We can do that anywhere, all the time. We just have to remember and remind ourselves to do so. If we live like this, the whole thing becomes playful, a magic show in which we play a role for some time, and after that we simply get out of it again. It's not difficult. You just have to do it. We just have to remember. And then when we remember, not find excuses that right now it's not possible, but when the memory comes, just come home. Even when we are talking to people, even when we are in a difficult situation, Just connect and relax. Always connect and relax. Consciously connect. It cannot be disconnected, in fact. But our consciousness, our conscious attention can roam all over the place. So here and there, totally missing that one experience that is alive. It is now. If we live in that timeless present, the world loses its threatening quality. Even when things are not working well, we know we cannot be touched. We cannot feel threatened, not from what is happening now, not from what may happen in the future. Here, now, you're alive, you're whole, you're invulnerable. Hariyo, Hariyo, Hariyo. All right, my friends. Is there anyone here who would like to come in and say something? You are welcome to do so. Hello, Ravi.
Hello, Werner.
Hi.
I've just had come out of a I'm still in an intense period of COVID. So, but I'm out of the worst part of it, which is good. So, so I was reading about Amma talking about if you take refuge in the divine, then the divine will take care of you.
Yeah.
So, and take care of your needs, etc. And I guess in Western society, we also talk about things like abundance. There's like a particular flow, and if you can connect to that sense of openness and abundance, things happen in a magical sort of a way. I'm just trying to understand this thing of what does that actually mean, that the divine will take care of? Because, there are times in my life where if I'm really in an angry mood, I notice, and I'm on the phone, I notice the person on the phone gets cut out a lot of times. Like there's a different flow according to the energy that I'm in. And then sometimes things just synchronistically happen. Is that kind of what Amma's talking about when she says the divine will take care of you? And how does it all work? And just tell me a little bit more about it, because it feels very appealing to know that, there's someone taking care of us and we don't need to put so much stress and effort into things.
Right. We don't need to put so much stress in it. That doesn't mean we can now sort of like just let go like a puppet and think, oh, the divine can come and move our body around. By all means, use your abilities that you have. That's also a divine gift. So you can also use them. But at the same time, we are having that habit of whatever we are doing, then we want it to be successful. We want it to be in this way and that way, and are very much attached to the outcome, to the fruit of our efforts. And we can learn to accept, okay, I'm giving my positive, creative input into the current of events, and then it may work out the way I like, or it may not work out the way I like. If you have that attitude, okay, I take refuge in the divine, and the divine takes care of it, then you are much more capable of accepting the circumstances the way they come. Okay, today you brought me nice circumstances. Okay, today you obviously creating challenges and I can learn to be equanimous in both cases. We are always connected with that divinity. The devotee calls it God and takes refuge in God. The jnani just connects with that sense of presence and connects with that. And being connected with that divinity, no matter how we are doing it, you become aware there is nothing to fear. Nothing can hurt that. We can be hurt on all the manifested levels, but if we are not identifying with that, then it doesn't matter so much. Because you know that which counts is always there, invulnerable. So the devotee may not think all this out, but more and more just open the heart to God and feel that divine presence. And if that is sincere, then the devotee becomes more and more aware. No matter what is happening, it's still God's will happening. And no matter what is happening, I just deal with it. Instead of resisting, instead of screaming and saying it's not right and not just and it's not this and it's not that, then you can go about it playfully, relaxedly. And the magic on the manifested level is also there. If one has that faith in God, then somehow or other things have the tendency to work out. Sometimes we may be a bit tested, how deep, how sincere that faith is. Sometimes we may face not easy circumstances in spite of that. It's not a guarantee if you take refuge in God that after that everything is always going to be pleasant and nice and beautiful in manifestation. But if you have that attitude that you are connected with God, then you have then also the strength to deal with whatever comes. And more, it has also a little the tendency that things start to fall in place easier. When Jesus' disciples were a bit worried about, no, they don't have any money anymore, and so Jesus told them, anyhow, you don't worry. First, look for the kingdom in heaven, and the other things will be just given on top of that. You don't need to worry about that. And it works also. But we have also to be ready if we live like this to accept if things are not working out so nicely, if maybe sometimes the food is not there in time, if sometimes we have to go to difficult circumstances, but if that faith is there, it's not difficult to deal with it.
So there's sometimes I wonder, or part of me wonders, is something kind of, if I make a mistake, if I do something out of lack of ignorance or something which is a bit destructive, I guess that's all lack of ignorance. I can call something, I can, you know, at what point do you go, oh, I was just being lack of awareness versus it's God's fate? Who do you give responsibility in that situation?
Lack of awareness versus
lack of awareness.
Awareness
yeah, lack
versus,
of aware
versus God's will.
Yeah.
It's not either or. We still can often be very inattentive, but God's will still manifest.
Does God's will always manifest?
God's will
whether we're inattentive or not?
Yes, God's will is always manifesting, but the more you are attentive, attentive, the more you are alert, then the more things have also the tendency to somehow become more harmonious. It's not a guarantee that it's always nice. Sometimes we just need to go through difficult situations in order to grow, in order to face challenges. But if there is awareness, then there we can avoid a lot of troubles. And if we are not aware and do silly things, and after that we find ourselves in unpleasant situations because of that, then you can very well call that also God's will. In that way, God's will is manifesting that we can learn a lesson.
So God's will sounds like it's destiny, but then we can shape that destiny
Right.
with the choices and our alertness, etc. But even that in itself, even if that gets shaped into something easier, that's still God's will. It's all a manifestation of the divine, I
Actually,
guess, in the physical form.
it looks the same, but actually, and most of the time they are confused one with another, destiny and God's will. But actually, it's different levels. Destiny has to do with manifestation. That when a being comes into this world, there is already a certain cloud there of probabilities that most probably is going to manifest. If somebody goes half asleep through the life, then those probabilities will just manifest and the destiny is very predictable. Everything will just unroll itself as it could have been predicted at the beginning of the lifetime. But if you stop, if you step out of that current and become aware of yourself, of that timelessness of the now, you are bringing in aspects they were not predictable. That is not destiny. And it's God's will that we have that capacity. That consciousness manifest has also its own creativity. That we are not just automatons that are being driven by some kind of God up in the clouds, but God's will is also that consciousness manifest has every moment the possibility either to just go totally mindless, half asleep through the day into situations, through the situations, or that we use every moment as a reminder to bring the attention back to that divinity, to that which makes the experience possible. And the more we are doing that, the less power the destiny has. But God's will is still there. And sometimes God's will may manifest in ways that we just cannot quite fathom why it's manifesting like this, not because of some karma, not because of some destiny, not because we made a mistake, but somehow because at that time it's just the experience that can help us the most to learn, to grow, to become stronger, to become more expansive.
So whether they're positive experiences or negative experiences, I really like the attitude. And tell me if this is a good attitude, Werner, that as a devotee, I'm curious what other attitudes there are too, but I like the attitude of this is all coming to me. I mean, is that the crux of what the is that the best attitude to have, that whatever, that whether it's positive or negative experience, it's coming to me to make me go higher on the spiritual path.
Right.
Guess that's
It's
devotee.
always
Yeah.
it's always a possibility. We have always the possibility. We can miss it and just being swept along by what is happening, or we can use that possibility of whatever is happening, pleasant or unpleasant, to turn the attention back to that which makes the experience possible. Whether you call it the self or whether you call it God, it doesn't matter.
Thank you, Werner.
So to accept everything as God's will is great. At the same time, that doesn't mean we should not use our capabilities. By all means, act on a practical level, reasonable, act according to what you think is right, what you feel in your heart is right, but then you can leave it in God's hands how the reactions are there, what is the outcome of it, what is the fruit of it, and then actually you are free. As long as God, to accept everything as God's will doesn't mean that sometimes then we start to accuse God. Why are you doing things like this, and why are you doing things like that? This is not good. But that accept God's will, but don't become a fatalist. At the same time, use your beautiful inner creativity that is given to you to bring life and choose in the present moment. But you can make efforts to accomplish something, and then you can at the same time be relaxed whether you are successful or not.
Thank you.
You're
Hari
welcome.
Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. With that last aspect of our conversation with Ravi, we touched that thing that is always coming to every sadhak. It's coming sooner or later. Sometimes it's coming and then it's gone away again and it's coming again. Is there at all any free will? Is there really a possibility that I can have an influence? Or is everything predestined? Is everything anyhow happening the way it should happen that has somehow been laid down? Or is that creativity there, that life can be shaped, can be influenced? Most of the things they are beyond our possibility to immediately shape or influence. But then there is still the possibility that we are going through it as a victim, being pushed around painfully, or whether we are going through it playfully, dancing our life. As I said to Ravi, there is a destiny. It's something that is there in manifestation. A living, conscious living being manifesting in this world has such a thing like a destiny. It's like, but it's not something that is written in hard stone. It's like a cloud of probabilities. If one just goes through the life, never tries to be conscious, never tries to be alert, then these probabilities, they are simply going to manifest. And slowly, painfully, there is also something happening. There is also something getting more expensive, but it's a very slow and painful way. Destiny is within the flow of time and space. Here now, in that timelessness, here now, there is no destiny. There is no karma. You are. And you, as a being, don't have any karma. You don't have any destiny. You just are. Now, within the flow of events, there is a destiny. But when we take the trouble not to just be swept along by whatever is happening, that we learn to turn the attention around, to bring the attention back home to simply being, then at that moment, here now, you are stepping out of destiny. Here now, there is no karma. And automatically, something that is not already there in that cloud of probability, something new and beautiful and alive and creative is flowing into the current of events. And so the destiny loses more and more power. The more you're living really in the present, the more the destiny loses its power. And many things may not, there may not more be a need that it must manifest in order to learn, because you have already taken that step and come home and be in touch with that reality of existence, with life itself, whatever we want to call it. Then you become also more aware of the current of destiny, and then you feel something is coming, and you remember that invariably, when this kind of energy comes, when this kind of circumstances push, then invariably I used to react in a certain way. And many times we are reacting that that the outcome is unfavorable, and it creates again the new karma, strengthens the karma. But then the more we become aware, the subtler we become aware, the more we can see those pulls and pushes that are there, that are coming and going all the time, and we just let them come and go all the time, and they need not manifest. Most of the time, we just let the destiny manifest in spite of that. Nothing wrong with that. But when we see there are destructive elements in it, if I'm going down that alley, invariably it creates again suffering. If we see that as a potential, then we have also the capacity to say no. No need of to be beating that again. No need of going down that alley again. Instead of that, bring the attention to the present and be here and here now. There is no karma, no destiny, and a lot of karma, when we abide in that, a lot of karma is simply evaporating. There is another level which we can call God's will, which is something totally mysterious and not explainable. Like I explain about destiny and karma now, God's will comes right out of that mystery of existence. It's an entirely different level. And as a manifestation, we have no power over that. But one thing is clear, God's will is not that we become robots, that we become lifeless, that we become victims of the circumstances, fatalists that think, oh, absolutely everything is fixed And I have absolutely no meaning in all that. God's will definitely is that consciousness manifest has its own creativity. That's the point of a manifestation. That's the point that consciousness manifest has that possibility to be creative. And with that creativity, we can counteract destiny anytime if you are alert. The more we are alert, the less power destiny has. There's no way of controlling God's will. It's something that is just prior to anything we can think about. But God's will doesn't want us to make what do we call it? Puppets. God's will is that manifestation gives us a possibility to be really alive from moment to moment, to touch that source, that which makes the experience possible from moment to moment. And then that life becomes beautiful and creative, and something is extremely powerfully growing. Growing is not the right word because it doesn't grow, and yet I use it, it gives a picture, unfolding, expanding, expanding, enriching that conscious existence. Destiny, we can very well battle destiny. We can overcome destiny. But it's better not even to try to stand in the way of God's will. But not fatalistically, but powerfully, playfully, creatively, connecting with that beauty of existence, with that creativity that is there waiting to be expressed. I see Andreas. Hello, Andreas.
Hello. Can you explain a little bit more in detail what you mean when you say to grow?
Just that it's not the right word. It just gives somehow a feeling that something is not stagnant. That something, it's not just that there's something we call about the immovable aspect. And that immovable aspect is in a way immovable, and yet at the same time, it's getting enriched. Somehow the experience of that one thing that is not changing can unfold and expand. That's what I meant with growing.
You often said that life gives you the possibility to grow.
Yes. It gives us all the time the possibility to go half asleep through the situation, and then even then that process will be there, but very slow and very painful. Or it gives us the possibility to be alert and awake and alive here now. And then that, what I sometimes say, what grows, goes fast and beautiful and powerfully. Growing means not that something small becomes bigger in this context. Growing in this context means that somehow the experience, the awe and the experience of that mystery of existence keeps on expanding, unfolding, getting more powerful, richer.
So you are more present.
You are more present, And the experience of being present becomes more powerful.
And to deal with life circumstances, you get more flexible?
It's not a process, at least so far in this world, that is happening automatically. People can go through the whole life story and not become flexible at all, but rather actually get more and more fixed on their certain principles and what they want and what they like, and then get stay small in their experience and maybe get bitter that things are not working out according to their liking. But if we take the travel of watching, of inquiring, of pulling the attention again and again back, where we become aware how far away the attention has wandered from simply being consciously conscious alive now, to bring it back to that, then yes, automatically your way of perceiving, your way of living, your way of confronting circumstances, your way of confronting people, your way of how we are confronting new ideas will become more and more flexible, accommodating.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Welcome to do so. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, Werner. I want to ask you, for example, disciples have a teacher, and teachers taking hard actions against his disciple.
What is
How
that teacher
to
doing?
become
Sorry. Again, we have a bit
hard
a
actions?
sound problem with you.
Okay, just a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello, Werner.
Yes.
Now it's better.
Yeah.
So, for example, a disciple have a teacher, and
Yeah.
teacher take hard actions against a disciple.
Yeah.
How to recognize this is misusing power of fake guru, or this is how to say Zen stick of Zen master. For example, like I'ma make a big game with you to kill your ego or whatever, to something spiritual.
Yeah. How to recognize it? Somehow there is not really a touchstone, some measure that we can use, and then we can be sure. It has to do then with what we are feeling in our heart, the faith one has. If the disciple has faith in the guru and is capable of accepting, oh, whatever the guru is doing now, even if it has the appearance of being bad, then it must be for my best. And if a disciple thinks like that, then the disciple will be able more to detach from the circumstances. And it will help him to become stronger. And it can even work if the guru may not be so totally really a guru. If that faith is strong enough in the disciple and he takes everything what comes, even if it's abusive, as a lesson to become stronger. If that faith is strong enough, then the disciple will still benefit from that. Eventually, I guess, if there is something wrong in the whole thing, then the disciple will feel in the heart, okay, that's enough. for what I have learned. Thank you very much, but it's time to move on. We cannot really know, as a disciple, we cannot really know where the Guru is at. But if basically you have that faith, then you have also the capacity to stand when circumstances are getting tough. And if you are basically not having that faith, then it's maybe better not to connect with that Guru.
Yes, understand very clearly. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Once I said in a satsang, when people were here, you cannot really know. But somebody was talking about how can we possibly know whether somebody, and they used the bad word, which I usually always avoid, whether somebody is enlightened. And I said, you cannot really know. And somebody immediately said a bit indignant, whatever, indignant. Yes, we can know in our heart. And it's true and it's not true. But we can know in our heart whether we are in the right place. And then you can be with a teacher who has a number of things to teach, who has already gone through all kinds of things, and because of that can be very helpful. But still, that teacher may have his own stuff to work out, and eventually you may come to the conclusion, okay, the teacher is not necessarily in the position where I have projected him. But still, if that faith was right, then whatever the teacher had to go was much more powerful than if there is no faith. But we can, as a student, not really know where the teacher stands. We can have faith, we can make it proofs that there is definitely something way beyond me. In your heart, that person said, yes, you can know in your heart. What you can know in your heart, whether you are now in the right place. And it's good thing to connect, to have that close connection with a teacher. That knowledge is there, and we can learn to open up to that and access that more and more. And if the heart tells you yes, then you are in the right place. But it doesn't really tell you the state where the teacher is at. If we really want truth, if we sincerely looking for that which is, if we sincerely want to liberate ourselves from all that we are doing that makes us suffer again, if that sincerity is there, that sincerity will lead us to the right place. And if we, on the way, connect strongly, closely with a teacher, if that sincerity is there, whatever the teacher is doing can help us grow stronger, to grow, outgrow old stuff. If we become aware, okay, the teacher really has taught me things that have helped me, but somehow get the idea very strongly, okay, but they have to work out their own stuff, and somehow it doesn't fit anymore, then it's also all right to proceed. You will be guided from within. In that sense, I agree with that person who told me, yes, you know in your heart. If you really learn to open up to that, you do know in your heart. You know in your heart whether that teacher is good for you. And then you can accept whatever is coming from that teacher. And if somehow that trust is broken, and that then your heart will tell you whether you still have to stick it out or whether it's time to move on. You know in your heart where the way is going along. And the more we are sincere, not just making spirituality another pastime, but really longing, wanting to be free of all that is keeping our inner beauty locked in, all that is keeping our inner potential in a very little bubble. If we want to get rid of that, if we are sincere, then our heart will guide us along. And it may guide us to a guru, and it will tell us that this is the right place, and accept the guru, whatever they are doing. With that attitude, then there is also the capacity to unpleasant situations that are being created by the teacher, to accept them and to learn the most of them and to become stronger, get stronger out of the mess. The heart guides us. And if we are sincere listening to that, then what does it matter ultimately whether that teacher had his own stuff to work out or not? Before I came to Amma, I had a number of teachers. Eventually, I always come to the conclusion, yes, they are wonderful teachers, but somehow they are also on the way. They have more experience than me, but they are also on the way and struggling with their own stuff. Sometimes I may have been angry, having been in that role of being submissive and a disciple and following what directions were given, but all that has dropped away with increasing clarity, coming that after all, at that time, because that sincerity was there. And at that time, they gave me what I needed. And I look back on this story and on the different teachers I have met, and there is only gratitude that remains. Okay, I stop with that subject. I'm asking you again. Is anyone who would like to come in to say something? You're welcome. Sometimes, then with the same subject still, the question of dial. Is it sometimes simply abuse of power, what teachers are doing? And many times it is like that. Unfortunately, that is the truth. And so far I have been talking about if it's about our own story. But sometimes we may also observe a story and feel somebody is abused. A teacher takes advantage of the power position. And we may not feel good about it when we see that, because we see that the person who is there is suffering. We don't have to go after people like that and tell them, hey, they are misusing you. We can tell if they want, if they come and ask and talk about it, we can tell what we think. We can tell them, okay, if you are capable of taking this as just God's will, that this is happening, and if I'm alert enough, then I can also make out of this situation something beautiful. If they are ready to hear such things, then it's fine. But we cannot interfere and say, hey, you have to go away from that situation. This situation is not right. You are being misused. People have to go through their own experiences. If they come and ask, we are free to tell them whatever we want to tell them. But we cannot go and try to persuade people, oh, what you're doing is wrong. It's dangerous. It's not good for you. They are taking advantage of you. It's their life, their experience, their growing process, their process of becoming wiser and stronger. And so if that openness to listen to you is there, then we can advise them and help them, give them a helping hand, and maybe help them to cut that relationship that has some aspects that were just not right. But only if they come and want that. If there is that resistance, that block, then it's better we send them our good wishes, the best wishes, and our good energy, supportive energy, and let them go through their life experience. Divinity has infinite patience. And eventually, all we come back to that fully aware of all the rounds that we may have taken, fully aware that we have been doing things in a bit an awkward way. But so what? Eventually, everyone comes back to that source. And nothing is for nothing. But if we are more alert, then we can avoid a lot of troubles. But we cannot force somebody else to be alert. We can tell them if they want to hear. We can energetically maybe also give us a bit support, send them our love, but we cannot be alert for somebody else. That's the game in this world. That's the game that everyone has to go through their own story. Even the guru is not doing that. A real guru. There are people who have a certain power and give all the times experiences and stuff to the disciples, and actually in the long run it does not necessarily help them much because it creates a sense of dependence. Even the guru will always respect that it can be pushed and pulled, it can be patted and beaten, we can be praised and we can be blamed, but ultimately that is being left each one. Also somebody who is with a guru. If the guru is really a guru who wants the good of that being in the long run, ultimately we are always being left to make our steps ourselves, to learn, to grow, to outgrow certain things. All right. Once again, I'm asking, would anybody like to come and say something? You're welcome. Yes, Dale, you want to add something?
Yes, I want to ask some more question. Recently, I visit Krishna temple in Moscow,
Yeah,
and I was fascinated by rituals.
yeah.
They have a murti, and it was kind of magic show. It was inspiring.
Yeah.
So, can you speak about worshiping to the murti, to the idols? How does it work? It's happening inside of the heart of devotees, or it's really energetical stuff happening in this murti? How does it working?
A murti, a form, physical form
Yeah.
that is there,
Form.
is also just because all those rituals being made slowly getting powerful. It can also be installed by a powerful being. Sometimes powerful beings, they install a murti and put already quite a power into that. But if there is a form that is always, these pujas are being done, and with more devotion it's being done, the more energy is there, then definitely these murtis, they can slowly become powerful, and connecting with them may make it easier to connect with the essence. Now, it's good if the devotee who is doing all these pujas has still that awareness. After all, this is just an expression of that one thing that cannot be expressed. But still, through this expression, I'm capable of opening my heart. So I'm happily and full-heartedly doing all these pujas, doing all these rituals. If one does that with sincerity, certainly there is value in it. And the murti can develop more and more and more power in that way.
And does it advisable to go deeper to such rituals, or better to try to be free from any kind of rituals and outside murtis, whatever, and start working inside of our own mind?
Depends the person. If that is something that is totally strange, that the rituals with murtis, and it somehow doesn't feel attracted, then certainly that doesn't mean sooner or later they also have to do that. Then they don't need to go for that. But if this comes naturally, spontaneously, that somebody joyously does these rituals, then they can very well do those rituals. There's nothing wrong, and they need not think, okay, this is only a stage, but eventually I have to drop it and be totally abstract. Sri Ramakrishna said once, okay, there is that attitude of the Advaitin, all is the self. Or there is the attitude of the devotee, all is God. But actually, there is also a third attitude. There is God and I, and it's equally okay. That one can also have that devotional attitude, there is God and I, and just feel more and more that connection, that presence, that divine presence, and it leads you exactly to the same as the one that is simply doing self-inquiry and connecting with the abstract self, with the abstract Brahman. So you cannot say whether it's good or not, whether one should or should not. If people are attracted to do so and really learn to open their heart while doing so, then they are perfectly valid, these rituals. But if one doesn't feel like going to such places, they need not feel that they are missing something. They can as well go in a very other way about it.
Thank you, Werner. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. Unfortunately, spiritual people, religious people, they are after that all the time busy criticizing the others who are not doing the same thing. Those who are more in an abstract approach have the tendency to look down on those who are busy with forms and rituals and that kind of thing. And those who are very much into rituals and into that relationship with God, they are angry with those that are looking at them as arrogant, that they think they can do that without all those rituals, because for them it looks to be essential. But that's the people's stuff. No matter where we are going, no matter in what field, there is the people's stuff that once people have ideas what is right and wrong, then often it lacks that openness, that empathy, that capacity to see that, okay, I'm approaching in my way because it comes naturally, and for me, it's the best way. It's not theoretically, it is really the best way because it's according to my heart. But then that doesn't mean we should not have that acceptance and that tolerance and that empathy, that we can see that somebody who is doing something totally different, if they are sincere, if they really want truth, if they want to touch that divinity, then this is perfectly all right to do it in that way. It's not one way better than the other way. People usually do think so, unfortunately, when they are doing a certain thing, when they are approaching in a certain way, then they always want to be those who are on the highest and the best way. And eventually the others also would have to join them on that. It's not so. You can go the whole way in a very different way. And both and all the different ways are correct if we really do them with sincere, go on them sincerely, if we really do those practices sincerely and with the proper motivation of freeing ourselves of our smallness, of our sense of being separate, freeing ourselves from all those obstacles that we have learned to carry along with us and recreating all the time in our mind. Anything that helps us to come back to that divine essence, no matter how we are going about, is perfectly valid. And whether it's a high approach or a low approach is not dependent the external form, but dependent the sincerity and the full-heartedness. The one who is doing them, the one who is using those forms, this different practices, whether that sincerity is there or not, or whether one can also do practice in order to, with a very negative motivation, that people are doing rituals, doing practices, hoping to collect some power in order to be better, to beat their enemies or whatever, to do that still with the basic attitude of trying to squeeze out something selfish, that after that I'm more powerful in manifestation and can allow myself more this and can allow myself more that. That attitude is not helping, of course. But if that sincerity is there, that longing for truth, that longing to be in our own natural, joyous, happy state, then what we are, the tools that we are using to come to that, they don't matter. If they correspond our inner feeling, then they are the right tools. And none is higher than the other. The high, whether it's high or not, depends entirely the one who is using them. All right, my friends? Is there anybody else who would like to come and say something? Hello, Andreas again.
So, last week I visited a friend, and she's a teacher in the Vipassana method of Buddhism.
Yes.
The tradition is called Mahasi Sayadaw. It's from Burma.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's done very intensive meditation retreats, meditating all day. And if she's doing like walking meditation, they're walking very slow. So the whole thing is called like dry insight, because they try to avoid the highs of very concentrated states and just get insights into the three characteristics of life, like impermanence, not self, and suffering. And so she has mastered the whole process to a very high degree. But discussing with her is always very interesting, because sometimes it seems to me that it's the whole thing is too narrow. But this time I managed not to say so much, this is right, this is wrong, and we could have a nice exchange about everything without getting into arguments too much.
That's good.
My question is that, I mean, sometimes she's very intensely focused, and all the phenomena gets into much more details and into energy and anything like that. And my question is, can you do that without noticing the bigger picture, that what you say, like without noticing that which makes the experience possible?
Well, it's also aiming at that. Simply they don't call it in those words that I'm using. But it's also aiming at that. And if everybody has that call, we may ignore it, but everybody has that longing to come back to that. Even if we don't call it like that, even if we don't use those words of bringing the attention back to that, that if they sincerely go on that way, then it will also more and more bring those practitioners closer to that.
Because she stopped meditating now, and even though she had like very intense experiences, and I don't understand that. Because I mean, I thought like if she has seen that and felt that, this, yeah, I don't know what's happening.
You said she stopped meditating.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Has she given any reason why?
Not really. My guess is that, I mean, it's dry inside, so that they have to put on a lot of effort. And she says it's always, the first phases are kind of not so pleasant. She has to go through the hindrances. So, yeah, I don't know exactly, but it's like, it seems kind of strange to me, because always when I talk to her, my own practice seems kind of shallow.
Yeah.
compared to that intensity, but I always have a little, it's always joyful. So I'm not running into so much danger of dropping it.
Well, I mean, everybody has to go through their own stuff in their own way. No need of trying to tell them they should do it different, except if they want to hear it. But if somebody is doing that strict kind of vipassana approach sincerely for a long time, and even if after that they are a bit mellowing and meditate less or meditate not at all officially, but if that sincerity is there, they will learn to meditate more and more in every moment without sitting down with crossed legs and closed eyes. If that sincerity is not there, then sooner or later, if somebody pushes if the people push themselves to meditate a lot, eventually they will be so frustrated and throw it away. Or there can be people who doing a lot of meditation and they may have ulterior motives because they want to, through their meditation, collect enough power to have advantages in the world. Meditating does not guarantee wisdom, that there is after that a lot of wisdom there. But if that longing for freeing oneself from that which holds us back is there, then somehow all those meditation, even if there were periods where it seemed to be quite dry, then they are not lost, they are not for nothing. And there is a wealth in them that may be not immediately so visibly manifest, but sooner or later, then that being who has gone through all that will become clear of the context, what it did and what it did not, and be grateful and be happy having gone through such a thing.
I think this kind of meditation has like both sides, that you need to put a lot of effort in and it's dry for quite a while, but when you persist like my friend did, then she said this has been very joyful and very pleasant for times. That there were best times in her life. And so yeah, I just wonder if you can like have such intense experience and still not see like this ultimate, or maybe she has even seen it, but like misinterpreted.
No, it's certainly very well possible that somebody does a lot of intense practice and has nice states and has nice experiences, but somehow is not yet quite ready to open the heart to that which is prior to the experiences, because then the mind is happy to have something to hook on to hold on to. And eventually, also a person like this will have to become aware, okay, in a subtle way, I'm doing still exactly the same thing, holding on to, and while holding on to some things that are not necessarily helpful, that may have been tools that have been helpful to a certain point, but then after that more, they become obstacles. But if that sincerity is there, then that person will become aware, I'm still doing the same thing and I can also let go that. And if that awareness is not there, then they have to learn their own experiences through their own experiences.
Sometimes I suspect like that the term vipassana is like misleading, because it might like foster an attitude where you always have to, yeah, a subject and an object that is perceiving.
Mm.
So this does this maybe prevent the letting go of this perspective?
It prevents it only if one is holding on to those two aspects, the subject and the object. But everybody is doing that unconsciously anyhow when they start out, having all these subject-object things consciously in the head or unconsciously carrying them along all the time. And eventually we come to the point that we also can let go of that. And how long it takes, that's different from one person to another. It's not that it's a business that you can say if you meditate that many hours, then you get that much out of it.
Okay.
Right. Anyhow, it's nice that you can talk now without arguing with her.
We both get better at it.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Hari Om. Hari Om. All right. Let's wind up our satsang for today with that. I started out, we can use anything. We can use our senses, sense perceptions to help us to connect with that. And so it's not only that. Of course, we can use all kinds of techniques. We can use all kinds of practices. We can use all kinds of worship. If the attitude is proper, then everything may help you and bring you back to that. And sometimes people may look at others and see, okay, they are doing their practice since a long time, but look what they are still having, what kind of character they are still having, how they are behaving. And it seems it doesn't have brought so much, but we are looking usually at people very superficial. We don't know what is going on inside. And the intensity is not only the time of practice, the hours of practice, but the intensity depends how intensely sincere we are inside. Whether we are keeping that intensity by as good as we can connecting, no matter whether we are using a technique or not. So it always comes back to ourselves. We can use our sense perceptions, we can use a technique, we can use a philosophy, anything that helps us to bring the attention back home to that is totally valid. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.